So, Nick, you and I have spoken in a previous video specifically around menopause and cancer and HRT potentially after particular types of cancer. I just wondered if you could just brief a couple of things that come up a lot are women who have fibroids and women who have active endometriosis, who are often, kind of blanket told, no, you can't have HRT. Could you just talk about whether or not they can, and if they can, how that should be, dealt with?
Sure. So fibroids, well, neither of those conditions, first of all, are an absolute contraindication to hormone therapy. We should be more cautious in how we prescribe the hormone therapy, but no, there's no reason why women with those conditions cannot still be considered candidates for hormone therapy. Now, with fibroids, what I find is that if you keep the doses of hormone therapy on the lower side, then it tends not to stimulate fibroid growth. I think the problem is where a woman perhaps requires higher levels of estrogen to control her symptoms, and then you have to be careful about monitoring the fibroids to make sure that they're not growing.
Yeah.
So in those situations, I'll recommend that they have a scan a couple of times a year to check on the fibroids, make sure they're not growing. In my experience, if you keep the doses relatively low, 9 out of 10 women with fibroids don't find that the fibroids will grow. One of the things I would say about fibroids, though, is that if you've got a fibroid that's sitting inside the uterine cavity rather than on the outside, they are more likely to cause bleeding problems. And we would normally advise that those fibroids are removed. And the removal is usually fairly straightforward. It can be done with a telescope inserted into the uterine cavity and the fibroid scraped away. So no cuts have to be made in the tummy or anything. But other fibroids can be left where they are and just monitored.
Okay, great. Thank you.
With regards to endometriosis, again, it depends on the severity of the endometriosis. Mild to moderate endometriosis doesn't usually cause a problem. Severe endometriosis can be an issue. And again, if you use a dose of estrogen that's too high, you can certainly make endometriosis symptoms worse, or endometriosis can return after it's been dormant for a while. So again, it's about achieving the benefits with the minimum effective doses. I think the balance of estrogen to progesterone is vitally important. You need to make sure that you're giving enough progesterone to not only protect the lining of the womb, which is primarily why we give it, but also to prevent resurgence of the endometriosis. And ideally, you want to give the progesterone continuously without a break, rather than regenerating the cycle with cyclic HRT, which is more likely to trigger the endometriosis. And if you've got somebody after hysterectomy who we traditionally would not give progesterone to, if they've got moderate to severe endometriosis, I normally do recommend progesterone as well, not only to prevent recurrence of the endometriosis, but there are these rare sort of tumors that can occur in endometriotic deposits if they've been stimulated for a very long time without the presence of progesterone.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Nick. And talking of
just a final thing to say. This is where the intrauterine systems, Mirena, for instance, the levonorgestrel systems are very good. Can help with fibroids, but particularly with endometriosis. Very good because the hormone is delivered where you need it, and it seems to be a very effective way of keeping the endometriosis suppressed.